Hi everyone, welcome back. So today I'm going to draw an eye and shade it. I'm going to show you right from the mechanics of an eye because I think that explains how you can draw an eye that looks realistic. So let's start at the very beginning. I've got my pencils here, range of pencils from HB through to 9B, and I have got a kneadable rubber which I'm going to use today, as well as my ordinary plastic rubber. So kneadable rubber is, as it says, kneadable, and it's really useful for lifting out highlights, and also if you want to get in and erase something that's small, you can shape it so that you can get in there and do that. So put that aside for a moment, and I am going to use my HB pencil, and then when I come to shading, I will start at my 6B and maybe go a little bit softer as we go along, depending on what's needed. So I'll put those aside for the meantime. So the eye. My way of thinking about an eye, which is how we can get to how it looks realistic, is the fact that its physicality is based on an eyeball. So inside of your eye socket, you've got the eyeball, which has got your iris on top of it. So first of all, demonstrate, I'm going to show you circle and just get that circle a little bit more accurate so that you can see what I'm up to. And then in the middle of that eyeball is the iris. So again, another circle. And I'm going to find that line that most accurately describes the circle of the iris. Notice, if you've seen other videos, I've been through this previously, but if this is the first time you've come across one of my videos, I draw a circle by doing multiple lines and then picking the best line through it. And afterwards I'll erase all the unwanted lines. And then in the center of that, got pupil. It's not a pinpoint, so always make sure it's large enough. It's a good size within the iris, and actually if somebody's in a darker place, darker room, then that pupil will enlarge to let in more light into the eye. Okay, so we've got those three circles going on. I'm just going to do a quick shade through there for the pupil, and then we're going to think about how the eye sits on top of all of this. So the eye opens from each side of the eyeball, and it's slightly below the center. Here's the outside of the eye. On the inside of the eye, although it's around the same level, actually, remember you've got a tear duct. So there's where that line comes across, but we've got the tear duct. So actually, the eye opens from a measure inside of the edge of the eyeball. So when you look at your eye in a mirror, you can see the side of the white, and then there's another measure before you get to where the eye actually opens from. So the top eyelid has got a nice curve because it moves when we open our eyes. It's the top eyelid that sort of does the most work. So it opens up to around about 2/3 of the way up the iris. We always see the pupil unless somebody's very tired, and then but if you have the eyelid crossing over the pupil, then it makes somebody look like they're going to sleep. So we don't want to do that. We just want to draw an eye of somebody who's perfectly awake. And then it lifts up evenly, so it's an even semicircle curve, but it's not central to the actual eyeball because this side opens inside here, so away from the side of the eyeball. So actually, the top of the curve is more like here. So I'm going to sketch that in. And when it reaches the side of the eyeball, it kind of drops, it curves around the eyeball slightly and then out to that opening point. Then that begins to give us that nice eyelid shape. The bottom eyelid doesn't move as much, so it's flatter, but we see, because it's lower down on the eyeball, we see more of the iris. Some people, you can actually see all of the bottom of this part of the iris, and then other people, it sits just over it. Okay, and now I'm going to get a softer pencil and I'm going to do a bit of shading. And then there's always a bit of shading around the side because of the fact that creates that round feel of the eye. And next I'm just going to add an eyebrow over the top. So I can vaguely see the top of that eyeball. And then above that, we've got the brow bone. That's that bony area that you can feel just above the cavity of where your eyeball is. And the eyebrow sits on top of that. Eyebrows can be different. So other people, some people have eyebrows that appear to be all the way down their top lid because there's some hairs that grow down there. But the majority of the eyebrow sits up on the brow bone. It's there to catch dust and sweat and stuff as it goes into before it goes into your eye. So it's our barrier against the world. I like knowing things like this about why things are, because it helps me to draw if I understand the reason why things look that way. And then our crease here has some shadow above and somewhat below it. If I just put it above, and then I can use my finger to blend like that. And below the eye, where the eyeball comes down to here, that's where you sometimes see a bit of shadow, especially when you're tired, coming around the eye there. That just begins to give that eye some dimension. Then I'm going to go back to my HB pencil and sketch in the eyelashes. Now, eyelashes do not go straight up like this. They're coming out at you. So the ones over the outside of the eye curve outwards like this, and then they fan over to the inside of the eye. We've got a lot of eyelashes generally, so, and different lengths as well. So the more eyelashes that you put in there, the more realistic. And I like starting off with an HB pencil because then those lines are really nice and fine. And then less eyelashes at the bottom in general. Just marking those in there. And then I'm going to go back to my 4B pencil. And I've kind of got my eyelashes marked there, so it's nice and easy to go through and add some more lines there, knowing that that's where they're going. Notice I'm not doing them just all the same length and trying to move in different directions. Even up here, get lashes that go off in different directions. Then I'm just going to go back here and add a bit more shading on the lid. And essentially, that gives you an eye. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it useful, please like and subscribe.